Hello and welcome. This week's training is all about letting go of fear and false beliefs, and you are going to feel much lighter at the end of it. So take a moment to take a deep breath and to get centered in your body with yourself in this moment. And know that with the power of your breath, you have the ability to let it go. Whatever you're thinking right now, whatever you might be afraid of, whatever beliefs are running in your brain that say there's not enough, or you can't do this, or you should have done this, or you should have done that, this is your moment, and this is your invitation to let it all go. It is not yours to hold. We are not meant to go through this life feeling alone and feeling like we have to do it all by ourselves. We are truly meant, and it is literally in our DNA, that we would engage the magic of the universe and have faith and co-create. We are a part of the divine. And just like you can't take a bucket of water from the ocean out of the ocean and have it no longer be the ocean, you are a divine creator. You were created from the image and likeness of God, and in that you have divine inherent nature within you. And part of this life's journey is really about breaking away these false beliefs and these false thinkings and these false ideals and getting back to the true nature of who you were. When you came into this world, when you were in your mother's womb and you were being multiplied from cells that originated and became an embryo and then became a baby, you weren't inside of the womb going, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. My ear didn't show up on time, or I can't, where's my legs? And you were just a bunch of cells. And just like an acorn, inherent in the acorn for it to become an oak tree, and inherent in the embryo for it to become a baby, there's no freaking out there. We as human beings are the only ones who are going into spinning and chaos and survival and freak out because of a lack of faith. And also because of beliefs that we may have brought on from other experiences growing up. Literally from the age of your birth, and probably even before, when you're in the womb, you're taking on energy from your mother and the people around you, and all the way up until age 7, you are literally just downloading your normal, your blueprint for what is normal. And so if you look at these different cults perhaps, or these different religions, and I'm not saying religions and cults are the same thing, they're not. But what I'm saying is if you look at these groups of people, what it is really in its true nature is it's a consciousness. It's a group of people who are thinking the same way about a particular thing or a particular issue, and they are coming together in their collective consciousness, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. But essentially, it is their faith. They have faith in the fact that, for example, Hitler, having faith in the belief that there was something wrong with the Jewish people and that they needed to be treated the way that they did, which was so horrific. And it was that faith that that group of people had that led them to be able to even do such an act. And on the positive end of the spectrum, there's a group of people that have a positive faith in a direction to do good for the world, to end world hunger. There are plenty of different collective consciousnesses around the world that are taking action based in faith. So right now, I want you to really think about, what are the fears that you need to let go of? What are the beliefs and the blocks that you have when it comes to having pure faith, 100% unwavering faith? And I don't know that it's that you don't get triggered anymore. I truly believe that it's how you handle when something comes along to trigger your faith in the direction of what it is that you desire that stops you dead in your tracks And it may not even be noticeable. It may be one thing that happened that was an irritation or a frustration. And then all of a sudden you're going in the opposite direction, and you now have faith in the direction of what it is that you don't want to have happen. And it only takes a couple of little triggers to have that happen. So as you strengthen your faith, as you let go of these false beliefs and these blocks, and you examine, are these beliefs even mine? Then you will come to a place of your own truth, and you will strengthen this muscle of faith that literally allows you to get back into the zone of being on a path of unwavering faith. Again, you're going to be triggered. There are going to be things that come along that make you feel like, have I been abandoned by God? Or where is God? Or I'm sitting in meditation and I'm not hearing anything and I don't know why. Or I asked for this and I prayed for that, but it didn't happen. The underlying belief that I strongly encourage you to cultivate and nurture and adopt is that everything is always happening for your highest and best good, even when it appears as though it is not. And if you have ever done any kind of reflection and you've looked back on an event or an occurrence that happened, and it was one of the most catastrophic things that ever happened for you, because everything is happening for you. Everything is not happening to you. Nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for you. And if you look back on that event that happened, and you can bless the situation and have gratitude for it and see the true perfection in it in the moment, in reflection, then my question to you is, wasn't that perfection there all of the time anyhow? Even in the moment when it felt like this is the worst thing that's happening to me and I don't know what am I going to do, and so on and so on. And when I was in that situation where my marriage was falling apart and I had no support from my family and I felt so alone, I can look back now, even though it was my greatest places of pain and it literally changed the trajectory of my own personal and spiritual path. That was the beauty and the gift in it, that it reconnected me with God on an authentic way, where I could identify, what is God to me? What are the beliefs that I have? What do I need to not believe anymore? That if I'm good, that I'll be rewarded, and that if I'm bad, then I'll be punished. And I was able to pick up that belief that was so inherent in me because I grew up with it. And I got to notice and determine that that wasn't true for me, that wasn't even my belief. So I want you to take a moment, because this is an interesting concept to consider, and it can take a bit for you to really absorb what it is. So you'll want to watch this over and over again to really take all of this information in. But the truth is that most often the believer and the belief are separate. The thinker and the thought are separate. So you could be thinking thoughts. In fact, most likely you are thinking thoughts and believing beliefs that don't even belong to you. It's a fear that was handed down for generations from many, many years ago that your parents adopted, and they may have received it from their parents, and their parents may have received it from their parents, from the era of the Great Depression, the concept of scarcity and poverty that was a real thing, but then the belief stayed in the consciousness that led to the belief that there's not enough, the belief that we're not being taken care of by God. And the truth of the matter is that you are so much more divinely taken care of than you can ever imagine. And I had an experience a couple of years ago that occurred for me that anchored this in a most incredible way. I was working from home in my home office, and there were two men that tried to break into my home. And I don't have a peephole in my door, so I ran upstairs into my son's closet to look out the window, and I saw a strange car parked across the street. And then I went into my bedroom, and I saw a man running from my shed out to the front of my house, past my kids' playground. And in that moment, fear set in. I mean, tremendous terror. And all of my phones were downstairs, including my computer, my pocketbook wide open on my island right in front of the French doors in my home at the time. And I had one phone upstairs, and I was terrified to call the police, which was just so bizarre. I don't even know why. I don't have an explanation for it now, but this is definitely one of the most terrifying moments of my life. And so what I ended up doing was I called my husband at the time at work, and I was telling him about, oh my God, there's two men. I think they're trying to break into this home. And I went into my son's room at the back corner of the house, and I looked out the window, and one of the men was like lurking literally 6 feet below me. And I just lost it in that moment. Like, it was like, oh my God, I have to call 911. Like, this is actually happening. I think I was in a state of disbelief it really and truly in the beginning. And so I hung up with my husband at the time, and I called 911, and I went into my bedroom and into my bathroom, and I locked myself behind the bedroom door and then behind the bathroom door with a knife, because that was pretty much the only weapon that I had at the time. And your mind does not know the difference between actual threat and perceived threat. So when I was in the bathroom on the phone with 911, I'm hearing banging. It was one of the guys was trying to kick in the basement door, and the other guy was trying to crowbar open the French doors, and my dog was barking and going crazy. And in my mind, I thought they had already gotten into the house, and I was hearing footsteps. So my perceived threat was that they were in the house, that there were footsteps, and like things were going to go bad and I was going to die, or that they were going to take my dog or kill my dog. I mean, all kinds of thoughts are going through my head. So fortunately, the police got there before they broke in. They did not get into my home, and they were able to catch one of the men, and the other man took off and went away. And what I will say is the one guy that they did catch, he had been doing burglaries for 36 out of his 48 years of life. And it's a perfect demonstration of a collective consciousness, of a belief that in order to get, I have to steal. And being able to see through the lens of collective consciousness, I don't have to be angry with that person. I don't have to feel like I'm the victim and they're the perpetrator. And the beauty of this was that because I was living even then in such a state of consciousness, that I was able to pay attention to the fears that were coming up. The fears that were coming up was that I wanted to shut every blind in my house for the rest of my life. And I heard a voice in my head that said, Rebecca, don't go making habits that you'll later have to break. And so I chose to sit with the fear. And I chose to strengthen my faith and call upon God in that moment. And I went and I was wandering around my house, sort of a bit catatonic because obviously there was some post-traumatic stress happening. And I remember going around to all the windows in my house, and I was in the one dining room window, and I stood there for a moment, and I paused, and I said to myself, I'm never going to look out these windows and see life the same way. And in that exact moment, this red-tailed hawk came flying down from I don't know where, and it looked like it was going to fly through the window at me and hit me at the face. And it came down and it came to the window like this, and it went to go straight up, I guess onto the roof of my house. And I heard a very distinct voice tell me, Rebecca, do you know just how divinely taken care of you are? And so this week, I want to inspire you and encourage you to let go of these false beliefs, let go of these limiting beliefs and blocks, and know just how divinely you are taken care of.